Today, I wanted to share a little bit of my story with you guys in case some of you are dealing with the same things I was. When I was growing up, I was definitely a party girl. I was a big party girl in high school and all through college. And as soon as I got out of college, it definitely caught up to me. I had a job at KU Med and I was so fatigued that I would have to leave the office and go out to my car and sleep in my car for like 5-10 minutes in hopes that nobody would notice. And that would be at like 10 a.m. So after like 8 hours of solid sleep, I'd wake up and I would be exhausted. And coffee did nothing for me, energy drinks did nothing for me, and it was really, really bad. It was really interfering with my life. So I would have to drive, as a research assistant, I would have to drive like 50 miles to meet with new research candidates. And there were times when I was so sleepy on the road, I would have to slap myself to try to stay awake. I would stick my head out the window to try to wake myself up. I would blast the music to try to help myself stay awake. And I also learned that if you were eating, you couldn't fall asleep. So I would eat sunflower seeds to help myself stay awake so I could make it to this meeting. Like, it was that bad. And that could be at like 8 a.m. So all day long, I would be so exhausted. And I remember one time I just had to be late to a meeting and I pulled into a Dollar General parking lot, whipped my seat back, passed out for like 10 minutes, like that. Closed my eyes and I was out. So that is how tired I was. It was really interfering with my life to the point where I had to go see a psychiatrist and get on a stimulant known as Adderall, which I know a lot of people are familiar with. And I did not feel good about this, but I didn't see any other way at the time. I was just really struggling to get through the day. And I was in a really dark place because I was like, how am I ever going to get a new job? Like, how am I ever going to train for a new position when I can barely stay awake and fulfill this position that I'm in now? And so my outlook on my future was very grim. And it was a really hard time. I was going to doctors. I had great health insurance. So I went to all these specialists, all these doctors. I got all these labs drawn and they just told me that everything looked fine, right? They said that my iron levels were normal. My thyroid was totally normal. Like, I got my thyroid checked multiple times because I did not believe them. I was like, there's a history of thyroid disease in my family. Like, there's probably something wrong with my thyroid, right? Like, fatigue is a big indicator of thyroid dysfunction. And they just said, nope, everything looks good, and sent me on my way. And that was really, really hard to hear, to not be validated. And I really felt very alone. And so I was faced with the decision, okay, I can just accept this and just roll over and die, basically, just be dependent on this stimulant for the rest of my life, knowing that there's something wrong with me. But since nobody can really tell me, I guess I'll just give up. That was one option. The other option was to say, you know what? I know my body and I know that this is not normal, and I am going to be my own health advocate. And that was the road I went down. And I used my strong research background and I used every extra bit of energy and time I had to dive into the research, to understand what was going on with me. And what I learned was that the birth control pill, which I had been on for about 10 years up to that point, was causing severe nutrient depletions, right? Which was depriving my cells of the energy that they needed to function. It was compromising my gut, and there's a gut-brain connection. So that was impacting my cognitive health. I was experiencing a lot of brain fog and memory issues and mood imbalances. That was also caused by the stimulant. The stimulant was making me super dehydrated, and so your body can't cleanse and detox when it's dehydrated. And so there's just these compound choices over the course of my life that had led me here. And I described this to my clients like a bathtub. So everyone's bathtub is gradually filling up over time based on our lifestyle choices. You know, all that late night pizza, drinking, drugs, medications, things like that. And so how hard you go depends on how fast your bathtub fills. And also genetics and things play a role. But because I went so hard growing up and because of my genetic history, my bathtub filled rather quickly. And what happened then was it started to spill over. And that spillover is symptoms. That's your body indicating to you, letting you know, hey, something is wrong here that we need to address. And so that shows up as symptoms. That's our body's way of communicating to us to let us know that it's time for a change. And so rather than ignoring that and slapping a Band-Aid on that with birth control or Adderall or modafinil or metformin or something, or spironolactone, I decided to get to the root cause and heal. And so what that looks like is, instead of mopping up the floor where the water's spilling over from the bathtub, which is like medications, I instead wanted to figure out what was clogging the bathtub. And so I wanted to unclog that tub to drain the tub so that I could relieve the symptoms and support my body's detox pathways. And so at that point, my liver was seriously congested from all the medications, from the drinking, from just the lifestyle choices, right? Too much fuzzy tacos at 2 a.m. And so all of it had caught up to me. Even though I was living a healthier lifestyle at the time, that bathtub had already gotten full and my liver was already way too overwhelmed and overburdened, and it couldn't cleanse and detox and release the bad stuff fast enough. And when that happens, it has to offload a lot of its tasks and responsibilities onto the pancreas, which can cause insulin resistance. And then it can also offload onto the adrenals, which can cause serious anxiety and fatigue. And it can offload onto the lymphatic system, which can really compromise our immune system, among other things, and put us at greater risk for cancer. If our liver's congested, it's not breaking down our food with the necessary enzymes and acids. And so that means that partially digested food ends up in our intestines. And so it's not fully broken down. And so this causes it's a feeding ground for bad bacteria. And so it was just a ripple effect. And I was experiencing every symptom under the sun. From the insulin resistance to the fatigue, to the bloating, brain fog, and everything in between. So I knew that I had to literally address every single one of these areas and support these organs and these detox pathways so that my body could release all of these things it doesn't need and heal. And that's exactly what I've done for the past few years. And it has not been a linear road. There's been a lot of surprises, and I've tried a lot of things that didn't work. So there was a lot of trial and error. I can't tell you how many supplements I bought that were totally worthless. Like I spent like $100 on a supplement and it didn't do a single thing. And so I wasted a lot of money and a lot of time and tried a lot of diets and things that just didn't produce results. But eventually I found the things that did work and that did have a really high impact on my health and on my healing. And since applying these health modalities, I have seen a day and night difference with my health. Like I pop up out of bed and I'm ready to go. I could not have become a doula if I was dealing with that fatigue I was dealing with. Being a doula, sometimes you need to be at a labor for 72 hours, right? Before I was waking up and ready to go to bed. I could not do what I do now if I hadn't healed. And so it's so much bigger than just like how you look on the surface, right? Obviously we care about how we look and our appearance, and that's big, and that's something I have found so much more balance in, and I am so grateful for that my weight isn't on this roller coaster, that my skin isn't breaking out like crazy anymore, that my hair isn't falling out, and I'm not having any period pain really, or hormone disorders. I'm so grateful for all of that. But in addition to that, like the possibilities for my life, it has just completely opened up. I mean, I would not have been able to start my own business if I was dealing with all those symptoms I was dealing with in the past. I would not have been able to become a doula. I would not be the partner that I am today with the patience and focus and attention and empathy if I was suffering, right? When we're just trying to get by, when we're in survival mode, we can't show up for other people in the way that we want to. And that is a really bad feeling. So prioritizing your health and your cleansing and your detox, it is so much bigger than just how you look. While it does impact that significantly, like it has changed my life forever. So because of this is why I do what I do. And I want you guys to know that I offer a free coaching call. So if this speaks to you, if you're dealing with what I was dealing with, which I know many of you are, it's a dark place and you don't have to walk this road alone, and you don't have to struggle for years and years like I did, trying to do this trial and error and figure out what works and what doesn't, because I have figured out what works. And I have worked with many of my clients one-on-one and they've seen the same results too. So I know for a fact that these things, sure, we all have these unique characteristics, but at the end of the day, our liver needs the same thing, our gut needs the same thing, our brain needs the same thing, our bodies really need the same thing. And so when we can honor that and we can fulfill those needs, correct those nutrient deficiencies, remove those inflammatory foods, you can heal and it can change everything. So if you're interested in a free coaching call where we can talk about what it is that you're dealing with, and talk about maybe some ways that you can overcome that and my services and what I can offer, then comment yes below and I will shoot you a DM. So moral of the story, guys, is do not give up. No matter how dark it is right now, there is always hope and there is a way out of it.